Hey guys, welcome to my presentation about measuring height with a clinometer and other alternatives. Before we get started, my name is Jaron Beluya and I'm a student at North Carolina State University, majoring in conservation biology. Now that you know the face behind this wonderful voice, let's go over what we'll be talking about today. First, what is a clinometer and what does it measure? How do I use a clinometer? And lastly, are there alternatives to a clinometer? What if I don't have one, Jaron? What if a bear eats my clinometer? Well, I'm going to cover all these points. What is a clinometer? It's a mechanical device used to measure height. It's used by contractors to measure buildings, telephone poles, and slopes. Clinometers are also used by foresters for primarily measuring tree height. But why measure height anyway? Well, for saw timber companies, this is important for determining how many 16-foot logs can be created from a tree and for determining the merchantable height of a tree. For a wildlife biologist, maybe a certain bird perches in trees that are 50 feet tall. So knowing how many trees in a plot that are 50 feet tall is very important. Back to the clinometer. This is how you look into the clinometer. When you look through the lens, you can see a scale that is represented in either degrees, percent, or topo, short for topographic. There will also be a horizontal index line in the viewer, which you can use to align with the point of interest on the tree. Perfect! A clinometer measures height. Now, how do I actually do it? First, make sure you're standing far enough from the tree so that you can see both the top and bottom of it. The general way for using a clinometer is to hold it up to your left eye with your left hand or right eye with right hand, depending on which way you prefer. It's important to keep both eyes open when looking through the lens so you can see the horizontal index line completely. You then look at the bottom of the tree and make note of the measurement on the scale. Then look at the top of the tree, or maybe you'll only want to know the merchantable height, so you'll look here and make a note of that measurement. Boom, you're done and you have the height. Well, not exactly. Depending on the scale you choose, you need to stand a specific distance from the tree. The measurements you take will differ, and you'll need to do some math before you can determine what the height is. I'll speak about how to measure height using a topo scale first. When using the topo scale, you'll want to stand exactly 66 feet from the tree, also known as one chain. Depending on your position relative to the tree, the topo scale will give positive or negative values when looking through the lens. Jaron the forester is standing on an incline, so when he looks at the bottom of the tree, he sees negative 30. Then when he looks at the top of the tree, he sees plus 35. The top reading minus stump reading equals height. In this case, 35 minus negative 30 equals 65. Therefore, the tree was 65 feet tall. Here's another example, but with Jaron at the bottom of the slope. When he looks at the bottom of the tree, he reads plus 10, and when he looks at the top of the tree, he reads plus 70. 70 minus 10 is 60, so this tree was 60 feet tall. Now, how do I use the percent scale? First, you must stand 100 feet away from the tree. Forester Jaron, using the percent scale, looks at the bottom of a tree and reads negative 5%. He looks at the top of the tree and reads plus 70%. Once again, the top reading minus stump reading equals height. 70% minus negative 5% will give 75%. You then multiply this by 100. 75% times 100 feet is 75 feet. So that tree was 75 feet. How about the degree scale? This is not included in clinometers at NC State, but I will briefly go over it. There is no set distance you should be away from the tree, but make sure you can see the top and bottom of the tree. Once you know the exact distance you are away from the tree, make a note of this number because it's very important. When Forester Jaron is 100 feet away from this tree, he sees 60 degrees as the angle when looking at the top of the tree. Using trigonometry, the height of the tree is tangent of the angle times distance from the base. So tangent of 60 degrees times 100 is 173. In this case, the tree is 173 feet tall. So if I don't have a clinometer, What are my alternatives for measuring height? Well, there's a laser rangefinder which uses the reflection of a laser beam and trigonometry to calculate height. This is a very accurate tool, but it does have its disadvantages. Sometimes the beam cannot make it through the thick canopy to see the top of the tree, or the beam is not properly reflected off the target. The actual tool itself is quite expensive, anywhere from $300 to $500. This is best for quick, accurate measurements of numerous trees. There's also the merit hypsometer, which is often printed, on the side of a Biltmore stick. This is a strictly mechanical device like the clinometer, but has its limitations as well. The merit hypsometer can only measure in 16-foot or 8-foot intervals, making it hard to get specific height of a tree. On the bright side, it's very cheap. This is best for a forester looking to measure how many logs a tree can produce. The clinometer itself is a pricey tool, averaging at about $100. It's pretty accurate, coming within 98% to 95% of the tree's true height. One limitation it has is that it assumes the top of the tree is in line with the bottom of the tree. Often the top of the tree does not align directly with the bottom of the tree. This makes clinometer measurements either overestimate or underestimate the tree's true height. This is best for someone who is looking to get relatively accurate height measurements of a handful of trees. It's not the most time efficient, but it's cheaper than a laser rangefinder and still easy to use. To wrap things up, my name is Jaron Bluyett, and you can find me on LinkedIn to connect if you'd like. Thanks for watching my talk, guys. I hope you learned a little bit about clinometers and other ways to measure height. And to finish things up, I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you.